the English team in between the games?
No.
I happened to yesterday. I had one on, and the TV was actually on silent while I was doing something else at the same time. So the TV was in the background, and I had the volume off. The body language is not great. Like I was surprised. I was looking at it, and then I was kind of like, "Will I turn it up, or will I keep watching?" And I don't know if it's the questions or the reaction they're getting. But at one point, Rashford was being interviewed, and I don't know. He was responding to questions. He didn't seem aggrieved by the questions, but the body language was. It would be enough to give you concern if you were watching it. And I'm not a body language expert, but you know when someone looks in that frame of mind.
Is that look? Just to jump in that, because I do again. It's the media who ruin England. They ruin the.
Oh yeah.
They ruin the view of England. The Fleet Street hacks. They are the ones who turn everybody against them. And then you hear people. I said, like, oh well, like for these Euros, like, or for the last World Cup in 2018, we didn't have many hopes going in. Did you read the front of the Sun, the Mail? And it got worse as the tournament went on. And speaking with guys who are covering it here, even Martin Keown, I was speaking to him in the semi-final with Croatia, and we're chatting, waiting to go to the toilet, and I was like, "How are you finding the pressure?" And he said, "I wish they could be like the Irish media 30 years ago." And I said, or 20 years ago.
Delusionally hopeful?
Yeah, but he said, like, he hoped.
We do that. They're good at that. Don't worry.
No, because now the Irish media are as bad as the English media. They're rancid. It's horrible how they turn. But anyway.
Well, I'm going to firstly congratulate Reuben, because India as a country is after getting one of my favourite Irish sportsmen. And I don't mean Robbie Keane. Bernard Dunn as the head of your boxing high performance. He's gone there. So you're going to be coming up in the world in boxing, even though you already have had some great female boxers. I suppose you mentioned one thing. In Ireland, I found that this World Cup, the coverage is so much less because we're not involved. And just from what you're saying, obviously Russia's in a different boat, so the guys aren't watching in that sense. And Andrew are enjoying the tournament. But do you think is it on TV the whole time? Is it on mainstream media? Are you getting a lot of coverage? Because here the games are on, but the coverage isn't huge everywhere. The papers haven't gone with it. Main sports companies are going with other stories, main sports outlets.
You're talking about the World Cup, right?
Yeah.
Oh, there is absolutely a lot of coverage over here. Everywhere, every newspaper, every channel, everybody's talking about it. And there are a lot of journalists also, Indian journalists over there. Like I'd gone to Russia for 2018. My organization this time has sent somebody, and there's plenty of coverage. And the best part about it this time is that we were getting to watch it for free. Like there's this platform called Geo.
Okay.
They haven't broadcasted a World Cup match or any major sporting event for that matter before. So the first match was actually very bad because it kept lagging and it was a lot of issues were there. So everybody went on Twitter and started really blasting them for that. But then they actually improved it now, and it's absolutely free. You don't need subscription, no number, nothing. So there are probably millions of people watching all over India right now.
That's brilliant.
I love
that. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, 1.4 billion, correct? Or is it more? 1.4 billion people.
Yeah.
1.4. Andrew Weiss, you want to jump in?
Oh, no, I think, just listening to Reuben talk about that, I think the streaming services is so important to growing the game in places. And in the US, they have a free service to watch all of the replays, but not a free service to watch the games live. And so, even in the US, it's a bit harder. In fact, I'm trying to game plan. I've been on Thanksgiving break here for American Thanksgiving for this whole week. So I've been able to watch 8 hours of football a day, but I go back to work tomorrow. And now I'm struggling to figure out how I'm going to watch these games at the detriment of the education I provide children, because I can't. I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to find these games online yet because I don't have a paid service through my laptop yet. So I don't know. I'm about to have to fork out some more money for that, I think.
Football comes first. That's it. Football comes first.
Teach him about football. Teach him about football, Andrew.
Children have a long life. That is true. Actually, Iseult mentioned that. In Ireland, we have all free to wear. Same in the UK.
For major sporting tournaments, and it's so important.
Same in Russia.
People who can't afford
Yeah, it's free to air. It's very, very good. Huge backlash has come about, and mainly aimed at Jurgen Klinsmann and BBC and how they are presenting or how they were commenting on Iran and those regions, and also Guatemala, and this was come from Klinsmann. But it's not just this; has been kind of like fed in every so often. But it started off not well for the Iranian coach when he had a bit of a run-in and he questioned why the BBC were asking questions of his players and not players of other teams. And this is the kind of background to it, and now you see what's happening now.
The BBC's Shaimar Khalil was confronted by Carlos Queiroz, the manager of Iran's national football team, after a World Cup press conference in Qatar. The correspondent had asked footballer Mehdi Taremi for his views on the protests in Iran. Afterwards, Mr. Queiroz asked if it was fair for the player to have been asked a political question.
I ask the pleasure to talk with you.
Absolutely. I'd love to talk to you, but do you not think that it's fair to ask the question?
No, I'm asking one thing to you now.
Yes.
The press conference finished. Don't you think it's fair also to ask other questions to the other coaches? That's the only question I'm making.
Absolutely, but I'm asking an Iranian player about his own
Why
country.
don't ask it to the other coaches? Why don't ask about what do you think about England and the United States, they left Afghanistan, and all the women alone?
But
Why
this is
don't
an
ask
Iranian, this is an Iranian player.
Respect.
So the gist of that was that BBC were pushing and asking questions, how can you represent, how can you work in Iran? Are you not embarrassed about it? And so on. He used whataboutery, but what about it? He used whataboutery, but what about it? Why not? And then this continued on. BBC English media have gone really hard after him. And then this came out. Now, this looks, if you looked at the full clip of it, it's even worse. But the clip we're going to show you is then post Iran-Wales and Jurgen Klinsmann with Gabby Logan and Ian Rush. I forget who the other guy is in the studio as well. But basically, they're having a go at Iran and other countries. In case anyone thinks this is off the cuff, this is just casual kind of discrimination or casual comments. It's not. This was worked out pre-broadcast, and we'll just play it now, and you can think of what you want yourself. In many ways, it's quite harmless, but another way, it's this continued attack on others.
In terms of their attitude to the game and their, let's call it gamesmanship, you can call it something else at home if you like, and they did just that, and they just stayed on the right side of the law. For the referee, in another game, they might not have done.
Yeah, that's their culture, that's their way of doing it, and that's why Carlos Queiroz, he fits really well the Iranian national team, and he struggled in South America. He failed with Colombia to qualify, then he failed with Egypt to qualify as well, and then he went back right before the World Cup now and guided Iran, where he worked already for a long time. So this is not by coincidence. This is all purposely. This is just part of their culture. That's how they play it. And they work the referee. You saw the bench always jumping off, always working the the linesman and the fourth referee on the sideline.
Constantly in their ear.
Constantly in their ears. They're constantly in your face on the field. I mean, Kiefer Moore probably will tell you lots of stories after this game today. He had a lot of little incidents that we did not even see out here. This is their culture, and they kind of make you lose your focus. They make you lose your concentration and what's really important to you. And then they take you off.
The European ref would have been different.
Big difference with another referee, the Guatemalan referee, and I've worked for the US for 6 years. They went to Guatemala, Honduras, Costa Rica, and this fits their culture.
It's the nature, isn't it?
Yeah, they kind of work it out. They have 5 people around them. They talk it out.
The linesman was from Wales. Well, his name was Wales, but he's from Trinidad and Tobago. But that didn't work for them.
So let's say it did not play in the hands of Wales.
Just a minute before.
Gabby Logan, the presenter, she set it up. She set it up that you can call it what you want at home. So it was basically a direct shot. Going to Andrew Iseult straight away with this one. we all talk about other countries. We speak about like, the diving Spaniards or the cheating this and cheating this. This is normal. We talk about it, but it really went maybe a little bit too far and kind of very targeted as well, Andrew.
Yeah, I cringed a little listening to him, but I've cringed a little listening to him for quite a long time when he coached the U.S. as well. Jurgen is really good at speaking off the cuff and speaking what he feels, but he's not always politically correct in the things that he says. I can see what he's getting at, and I think we all can see what he's getting at there. But the way that he just said it's their culture over and over and over, I did cringe a little at that, and I think, there's lots of sides that will try to get the other side off of their game. And it's what they do and it's how they play. And it's effective a lot of times. But it's not really their national culture, is it? And so he could have been a bit more targeted in what he was trying to say. But yeah, it was pretty cringy.
Yeah. I mean, especially going from Jurgen as well. Iseult, you signed him for Spurs. Are you proud of yourself?
Okay, I'm no one's going to agree with me, so I'm going to go on my own one here. I wonder, I think the choice of word culture is very poor. But put it this way, if he was on a rugby show and he was discussing New Zealand rugby 5 years ago and he kept saying the culture is to crowd in at the referee, to get in their ear, to start pushing other players back so they're the ones up talking, that they will do things underhand in a game, or like you'd say in boxing when you have a fighter who like knows the dark arts, and the same with rugby, then I think we'd all go, okay, he's just describing the teams thing. And I wonder, are we so convinced that everyone is prejudiced against Iran that we're viewing it into this more than it is there? Now, I don't agree with how he described it. I think it was a poor choice of words and the constant references to culture. But I wonder if he was describing another team and using the word culture, would we all suddenly be looking the other way and going, oh, no. Like, I just think we could describe other teams in similar terms as being, and it wouldn't be viewed in the same way, because I think we look to see that someone is discriminating in certain contexts.
He would have said the exact same about the Argentina-Mexico game. He would have said the exact same thing about that game.
But this is when you mentioned it about the diving and so on. I did say that Jurgen Klinsmann, this is a parallel to that.
And he also does not like the manager, which leads to that.
Like,
That's it. I think he just hates him.
Reuben, do you think that there's been some awful views and kind of a lot of what we would call, and we discussed it here, this like virtue signaling going on. How has that been viewed in India, especially from sports media in India? Like, what do you guys make of it? Do you think it's kind of we're all going a bit crazy or something?
I don't think there's been. We've covered the story. There have been people that have spoken about it, and just general coverage about Klinsmann's comments. The only thing I'm wondering is I don't know enough about what Klinsmann did in the US or what the background behind it or his hatred for the coach or whatever. But the way I see it, I just like was mentioned, probably just poor choice of words. We'd say the same thing about probably in Diego Simeone's team with Atletico Madrid or the Argentinian side. We keep talking about how they're very dirty, how they're very whatever. It's just like that. Maybe Klinsmann didn't use the proper word. Maybe he shouldn't have said culture. Maybe he should have just spoken about how, or maybe what he was talking about is the team culture rather than the national culture.
Exactly.
So, I don't really. There have been a lot of Indian journalists on Twitter who have said that it sounds racist and things like that, and he should resign. When I saw the video and the reactions, I think going by Queiroz' comments, I think Queiroz knows what he means. I don't know, probably because they have some history or something like that. But on looking at it as it is, it just seems like, poor choice of words.
Yeah, it is. We'll come to Andrew Clinton now with this, because of course it is one of those things that when I saw it and then I heard it, I was thinking, oh God, that's really, really dumb. What's worrying is he is on the technical group. So he's actually there with Arsene Wenger reviewing the World Cup and reviewing teams and so on. And he's speaking with teams like that. I'm thinking he's already biased. And when he brought in, Guatemala referees, that's what they do. Like that's normal. It's like they like a bit of drama. But I do think, again, it comes back to the presenter, put the words in his mouth. And she kept pushing. So this is where the BBC comes in. They have their talking points they go through. And was it harmless, or was it harmless kind of discrimination, or was it just kind of not a very clever person?
I think it was opportunistic. If you actually look at how the Iranian players reacted in this game, they did not cover themselves in glory, especially the Wayne Hennessy decision, which quite rightly he should have been sent off. But it was a little bit concerning. I was always concerned for the safety of the referee at one point, but they really were incredibly aggressive around him. Now, to use what the kids say nowadays, whataboutery, a lot of teams do this. Manchester United were famous for it throughout the 1990s, amongst millions of other teams as well. I think choice of words, just as Reuben says, I think that was a really, really well worded opinion. Reuben said the choice of words was the main problem. When you say culture, and Jurgen Klinsmann has enough command of the English language, he knows full well what impact the word culture is going to have. So I think his choice of words is the problem. The actual opinion is backed up by how they reacted on the day, but he didn't say today they acted like this, or the moment got to them. He honed in, like you say, it was set up to hone in on the background. This is where it's come from. This is who they are as people. That was a really problematic thing. I don't believe it was a racist comment, simply because I don't believe it is only Iran that it is said about. But in the atmosphere of the moment right now, and especially, let's also not forget the fact how Iranian players have been protesting, and with real consequences on the line, unlike the England virtue signalers. That was an opportunity for them to get an easy target, because hang on a minute, they're the ones in the news, they're protesting, they are a protesting type of people, let's just extrapolate it into them being dramatic in a way that they shouldn't behave. It's not part of the Iranian culture. The Iranian culture is a very
ancient,
fiercely fought sort of culture, but not a play acting sort of culture. I mean, it was a wrong opinion, and I don't think the choice of words was right. But I also don't think it was inherently racist either. It was poorly chosen, set up, like you say, by the presenter.
I would just say one thing. I think if a presenter had been trying to save him in that situation and was listening to what was said, the easy thing for her to have said back to him at any point, because I was practically screaming it in my head the first time I saw it, was to turn around and say, you mean their football culture? And that one question, and you're done. That is everything sorted, but she didn't. And that's
she didn't have that in her notes. And again, this is what I'm saying. I've already spoken with BBC journalists about this, and they're saying, no, this is set up. It's unfortunately the way that it's a narrative that they're trying to portray. In terms of Jurgen, Andrew Weisel knows him better, especially from coaching the USA and playing the USA as well. Of course, he also was no angel, and this is something that got him to a World Cup winners medal. So enjoy Jurgen for just one moment.
Неожиданный пас назад под удар Бремя, слета поворотов трудом. И он, кстати, очень сильно поднял футбол. Красная карточка. Удаление. Посмотри, что он там. То есть призываю всех судей, товарищи, обращайтесь. Смотрите, что устроил здесь таким грубым приемом. Я арбитра, близости от ворот. Вперед, опасный момент, Фёдор с мячом. Это арбитр. Так, сейчас может еще и вторая появиться. Выбил мяч, дотянулся в подкате. Ну, эпизод действительно очень сложный, чтобы окончательно разобраться в этом игровом эпизоде. Здесь я полностью согласен. Тем, что отбивал. Сейчас удар, гол. Сборная ФРГ выходит.
Germany, or West Germany as it were then, they went on to win the World Cup 1-0 with that goal by Andy Bremer in the 85th minute after Monzon had been sent off in the 73rd. The first dive we saw was one of Jurgen's teammates. The second one, of course, was him when he acrobatically flicked himself around the field, and he got played on, of course, there's nothing wrong with him. And then the final dive for the penalty, there you go. Sometimes I always revert to let's just say Latin, and Oniswa Kimali Pons means evil do those who evil think. So if you think evil of others, you do that yourself, and we see enough of that in the modern world.